Welcome to Sharing Vietnam on VTC10 Netviet channel. Recently, more and more students chosen to travel overseas to continue their higher education. According to the campus France Vietnam, France is the most chosen country in Europe by Vietnamese students. So joining us today is Mr. Bastien Palakmore-Chavila, the Deputy Head of University and Science Corporation. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Bastien.
Hello, thank you for coming.
France is not only known as a long-developed cultural and historical country, but also a modern one with many advanced technology industries. The prominent advantages have increased the number of international students studying in France and led the country to be in the top 5 of the world. Across Asia, Vietnam is the 4th country in terms of the number of students studying in France. Therefore, Vietnam is one of the important countries for French government to introduce policies for promoting and creating favorable conditions which support Vietnamese students when they live in this beautiful country.
What does the French government's point of view about the admission of international students into France university, especially from Vietnamese students?
The international student mobility is a global market right now, and you have key major players, and France is one of them. So France is the 4th country hosting international students in the world. What we have to understand is Asia is a main provider of international students in the world, and Vietnam is a main provider in Asia. So France and Vietnam have a huge and historical cooperation. So for France it's a strategical question, it's a strategic matter to have Vietnamese students coming to study in France.
I'm also come to aware that there are increasing number of Vietnamese students in France. Could you give us an estimate of the percentage?
We estimate to around 7,000 the number of Vietnamese students in France every year. It's a good number. 1,700 of them have a long stay visa for studies last year, which is an increase compared to the previous year.
Is there any policy implemented by the French government to encourage that percentage?
Yes, the government has proposed a strategy with 6. The first point is to simplify the visa process and to propose to former students in France, to alumni, a visa dedicated to them after their return, for example in Vietnam, so they can apply for a visa in France for not a resident visa, but for a working visa. It means that if you were a Vietnamese student in France 2 or 3 years ago and you have at least a master degree, you can apply for a visa to work in France or to create your own business, to create your own startup, and you can have funding support for the French government for that. The second point is to increase the numbers of students learning French as a foreign language and to double the number of programs taught in English in France. What we try to raise awareness here in Vietnam, and particularly in Ho Chi Minh City, is that France offers programs taught in English. Because a lot of students think that you have to master French language to study in France. It's not true anymore. The third point is to create a label to identify for the foreign students, to identify the best universities providing student support, like get a car when they arrive at the airport, or provide them with housing and so on. The fourth point is very strategic as well. Is about the tuition fees and exemptions. The French government has been subsidizing all students, foreign and French students, in the public higher education system to 95% of the tuition fees. The real cost, the actual cost, is between 12,000 and 15,000 euros. Foreign and French students used to pay only a very small amount on that, 170 euros for lessons for a bachelor and 2,050 for masters. So practically it means that at the bachelor level, Vietnamese students will pay 2,700 euros per year.
According to my understanding, there are many universities in France offer a lot of different majors. Could you share with our audience what are the popular majors amongst Vietnamese students?
Vietnamese students, they tend to favor scientific studies, mainly like physics or mathematics and so on, and as well economic studies. Economic studies are really attractive for Vietnamese students.
As far as your understanding, what do Vietnamese students usually do after their graduation in France?
We have a network of Vietnamese alumni, and we try to provide these alumni resources to on the job market to have a job, to strengthen their capacities with non-academic knowledge, and to exchange between them in groups of interest, and to be a link between these Vietnamese alumni and the French businesses here in Vietnam.
The French Embassy in Vietnam has had many activities to promote for French education. One of those activities was the exhibition of French universities last October 2019 in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. This event was organized under the cooperation of the French Embassy and Campus France Vietnam. There were 46 participating schools to welcome more than 2,500 students and parents who were interested in this event. It was the biggest education exhibition that I have ever organized in Vietnam.
Very important for us to be part of Campus France event every year. Why Vietnam is important? Because every year you have more than 7,000 Vietnamese students who are heading to France, and a lot of them are choosing business school. Vietnamese students are very friendly. I see a lot of them are already search about Schema Business School, for example, before coming. So they are very interested. They have a plan in their head. They know what they want to do, you know, so that's very important. So they are not coming just like this to meet institution. They have an idea in mind. Very serious, very interested, you know, a lot of them, I was very impressed because a lot of them are speaking French, for example, so that's very impressive.
The opportunity of direct interaction with the representatives of schools in this event helped students and parents to have important and accurate information. Thanks to that, their studying abroad plans would be prepared more carefully and effectively. In addition to the stalls from schools, students could participate in seminars to get a clear understanding of policies, costs or requirements, and opportunities in group of schools that they were interested in.
Dạ, em tới ngày hội hôm nay là để tham khảo thêm về các trường đại học ở Pháp, tại vì em cũng có ý định đi du học Pháp. Sau tiếng Anh ở các trung tâm tài chính và các quỹ đầu tư này nọ lớn thế giới thì là tiếng Pháp là ngôn ngữ thứ nhì. Thì nên em nghĩ thì nó sẽ là một cái lựa chọn phải chăng và cũng đủ cơ hội để mà em tiếp bước trên cái sự nghiệp của mình. Các thầy rất là niềm nở khi mà giải thích cho em những cái thắc mắc của em. Họ cũng chuẩn bị rất là kỹ nữa, tất cả tài liệu họ đều có sẵn thì họ chỉ đưa ra cho em thấy, em coi được hết và em hỏi gì họ đều trả lời được hết.
Recently, Campus France Vietnam has organized a university education event. So it's called Bienvenue en France. So could you share what is the purpose of this particular event?
The main goal here is to propose to Vietnamese students a direct exchange with French and French-Vietnamese higher education institutions. This year we have 46 French higher education institutions attending the fair, and I know very well that French higher education institutions are very eager to meet Vietnamese students because Vietnamese students are known to be serious, hardworking, community mind, but open to, on the other communities and the other nationalities as well. So they work hard and they integrate very well in the French higher education system. We propose appointments for Vietnamese students so they can meet face-to-face with French representatives, and we propose as well conferences. It means that the visa service here proposes a conference to explain all the visa process to Vietnamese students so it can be easier for them to apply. We have the Campus France team explaining the French higher education system, how you can apply, to provide some guidance and orientation to Vietnamese students.
Could you review more about the university who have participated in this exhibition?
We have, for this fair, 9 public universities attended. We had as well 9 engineering schools from all fields of study, from mechanical engineering to data analysis or aerospace, aeronautical engineering studies. We had as well 9 specialized schools. It can be in hospitality management, it can be in tourism, graphic design, fashion design as well. And we had 19 business schools. And each business school providing a different kind of the specific. You have wine management, you can have tourism management, design management, banking, finance, and so on, masters, MBA, bachelors. What I can guarantee to you is the interest these French institutions have in recruiting Vietnamese students. 85% of French institutions attending the fair come year after year in Vietnam to recruit Vietnamese students. And it's a good sign because it means that they work on a long-term basis in Vietnam.
So if a student comes to you for advice to study abroad in France, what would you give them?
It's always interesting to discuss with Vietnamese students because they have high expectations in the system they are looking to study in. I think the main question, the first question I ask to Vietnamese students when it comes to me is, what do you want to do? I know in Vietnam it can be difficult because the education is a family project before, and it's sometimes difficult to match between the individual expectation and the family project. So I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want to do? And what do you want to do in your life? I mean, it's not about a training program, it's about what you want to do after that. You do not choose France because France is romantic, because it's for Paris. You go to Paris to study something, in order to have a better job, in order to change things in your country. We have a whole team here in Vietnam, in the front lines, with the students. We're here in the Campus France office. So every day, the Campus France Vietnam officers answer to the questions. So I think it's a question we could ask them. Very happy to provide questions, to provide answers online as well, with Facebook, with Instagram, on the website. We try to answer as many questions as we can.
Thank you very much for taking your time today. I'm sure that our audience have gained a lot of valuable advice and information from our talk today. So I hope you continue the good work with the students and continue to support Vietnam in the way you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to Vietnamese students, please come to the Campus France offices. Our officers are waiting for you and they will be able to answer to all of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for following our program today. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.